So Intel's got a new graphics card coming out this week. On the 13th, the Battlemage GPUs, or the Battlemage graphics cards, B580s, should be available if you can find them. Right now, I'm trying to pre-order one, and it's very difficult. But they're supposed to be on par with, say, an RTX 4060 or 4060 Ti. Now, we do know that Intel had some driver issues when they first released Alchemist. The A750 and A770 had more than their fair share of issues. But we've also been able to show on the channel, and I'll kind of put a card up here somewhere, that, yeah, I think right there, that those drivers have gotten much, much better over time. And let's test those out one last time, kind of just get a little bit of an idea and see what to expect with the new B580s that come out. And that way we have a fresh set of numbers that we can also test that out when it comes. Now, full disclosure, I am going to go ahead and test this against an RTX 2070. I could very easily test it against an RTX 3060, but that 2070 is actually going in the workstation, that's behind me over that you can't see on camera. But that's going for another build, so I thought, fresh set of numbers for that. We'll test the Arc A750, fresh set of numbers for that. They should be comparable. And we'll kind of give that a go. There was, like I said, an ulterior motive for picking that card in particular, but we really just kind of wanted to see where we were going and what we compared to with a standard everyday rig. In my case, it's my everyday driver. It's the one I game on, the one I stream on. It's got an AMD Ryzen 5 5800X. It's on an X570 motherboard. It's got 32 gig of DDR4 memory running at 3600 megatransports per second. And yeah, the video card we'll swap out. I believe it's got an 850 watt power supply, Corsair power supply. It's basically a Corsair themed build. But yeah, we'll be swapping out the video card. We'll test the Arc A750. We'll get some numbers from the RTX 2070. And we'll see how they compare 2 years plus whatever after the Alchemist come out. We have managed to test the Arc A750 and the Arc A380 on the channel before, and I'll leave a card up there for that too, if you happen to want to go back and look at it. But for the time being, we're going to take a look at this, and our daily driver is just for sort of a comparison, getting ourselves ready to see what numbers we're going to be looking at when we compare maybe the A750 to the new B580 when we can get it. Okay, now I do have a little bit of an ulterior motive for testing the RTX 2070 and giving all these numbers instead of the 3060. My current rig, I am number 4, my everyday rig that I stream, play games and all that stuff, has a 3060 Ti, RTX 3060 Ti, and it way overpowers the Arc A750. The A750 usually resides back there in my editing rig because it's phenomenal at the AV1 encoder, which the 30 series doesn't have. The 20 series didn't have that either. But the RTX 2070 and the RTX 3060 were similar numbers, so I figured I could get a decent play on how they compared and how they worked out together. And since that mid-range card, the A750, the Arc A750, was supposed to compare somewhere in the neighborhood of those, I figured we'd take one last look, all the driver updates that have been going on with the Arc A750, and see how it finally compared to the most current drivers that we could find for the RTX 2070, which should be about that decent to mid-range. Now, this all came about because I had a suggestion after testing in the editing rig back there, which the Arc A750 is very happy, that I needed to go ahead and compare that to an AMD build. Now, I've done a little bit of AMD testing with, say, the 3600X or something of that nature, but I hadn't done it with my regular everyday rig that plays games, that I stream on, and all that I usually have several apps open in. So this is not a clean install of Windows. This is not with nothing else running in the background. This is how I would typically play a game or stream a game or something, and I just wanted to have the same things kind of open and running and see how it did in that case, a real world use, if you will. So we're starting out with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and you're going to, on these charts, you'll see that the Intel is in blue, the NVIDIA is in green, keeping with their color schemes. These are relatively close. They're a lot closer than they were when we first started. Now, I did a lot of testing on my editing rig that has a 12700KF in it, an Intel CPU. But in this case, the Arc A750 still lagging behind a little bit, especially at the lower resolution 1080p, but holds its own. It's not too bad. And for the price that you can get both of these at, you're going to get good performance out of either one. But I mean, it's not too bad. Well over 60 frames per second. This is no problems at all with this. And by the way, we did not try any ray tracing or anything of that nature. We're just strictly testing the benchmarks and trying to see what the normal rasterization numbers are under a typical load that I'd have on my everyday computer. Borderlands 3, we're going to see more of, pretty much the same. It's kind of boring, actually. 1440p, the Arc actually does a little bit better. 1080p, the NVIDIA, the RTX 2070, does better. I don't guess it's really a surprise there, but maybe I was thinking maybe the Arc would have done a little bit better by this time. The drivers were much better, or are much better than they were, but evidently still not quite enough to catch that mid-range RTX card. Cyberpunk, we're looking at pretty much the same thing. We go from a dead heat at 1440p high to a pretty noticeable difference by the time you get to 1080p low. So again, we're talking about the drivers did improve, and I wished I'll make a reference to it. I'll put a card up here so you can go back and look at some of the other Arc A750 videos. But even though the drivers have gotten better over the past year and a half, 2 years, they still don't quite measure up to that mid-range RTX card. And then finally, we'll go ahead and look at an esports title, Counter-Strike 2. Now, this gave me a chance to go back and do a fresh test of this because Counter-Strike Global Offensive was what was out before when we were testing. And we do know that the Arc struggled some to begin with DX9, but then kind of recouped, and they refined things and they did better, and because it is still the most popular game on Steam, it ended up being much, much better. However, when you compare it to, say, the RTX 2070, and I know if I went back and looked at the 3060, it's still going to fall way short. Now, I will say that when I was doing this, because I'm not using a benchmark tool on Counter-Strike, going through and playing the game and playing through, very smooth, no problems at all. It looked very good. I probably, if I'd played them back to back, I might have been able to tell a little bit of a difference. But to me, I mean, it was fun gameplay. I didn't notice any difference. I did notice a little bit more because I tested the 1440p and the 1080 back to back. I did notice just maybe a little bit more, or it felt a little bit better running at 1080p. But then when I looked at the benchmark numbers, it wasn't that much of a difference between 1440 and 1080p. So both of these were tested on high. And I just really, it was a little bit surprising to me, that's all. Now, I did test one other game, and I just wanted to get a little bit different flavor because we tested DX12 and DirectX 12 and DirectX 11. Vulkan is the other title sitting out there, or the other API sitting out there for graphics. And there's a couple of games like Red Dead Redemption 2, World War Z, and all that run off of that. But a game that I enjoy playing is No Man's Sky. And it also runs on the Vulkan API. So I thought, sure, let's test that. I wasn't trying to compare that to the RTX 2070 or anything. No, normally when I run it with the 3060 Ti, it runs 140 to 144 frames per second, no problem at all the time, even with everything else running. But I wanted to see what it was like with this Arc A750, especially at, say, 1440p. The first thing I was confronted with was an error. That it was an unknown error, and it would be glad to report it as a bug. So I had to start digging. And credit to Reddit, I guess you could say. I found a Reddit post, and I wished I would have kept up with it. I went back and tried to find it and couldn't find it a second time. That said that if I had the standalone program for Twitch, that it installs an older version of Vulkan that the Intel drivers don't write over the top of. So, and I had choices. One choice was that they said that if you reinstalled Windows, that it would work fine. I wasn't interested in doing that. So I went ahead and took that standalone app off my desktop, and lo and behold, it worked great. Now, there was a little bit of hitching and was a little bit of hesitation and all that stuff when I first started. Similar to like if you're playing, I don't know, if you're playing Fortnite or something, you see a lot of people that as they first load in, there's a lot of hitching until things catch up a little bit. But I didn't know whether to try to blame that on my CPU or the GPU. I was thinking blaming it on the GPU because that's the only thing that really changed. But after a few minutes, it smoothed out. I didn't have any problems. I closed the game out, went back into it, and again, no problems. It ran fine. I ran at about 100 frames per second. I think 97 is what I got. That's what I recorded, and I'll show the screenshot there. But yeah, but I was actually pretty happy with performance, even though it doesn't still, like in DX11 titles, still doesn't compare to even a mid-range from a couple generations ago, like the RTX 2070. Does that mean this is a bad card? No, I do like the Arc A750. I especially like it for editing. But does it mean I'm going to move it over to this rig, IM number 4? No, I like this 3060 Ti I got. It's right now, it's the best card I have on my hands on right now, and so I'm not going to do it. But what I will do is now that I have numbers, current numbers for the Arc A750 for both this 5800X, 5800X, 32 gig of memory, 3600 speed, and I've got the 12700K back there. The 12700KF also has 32 gig of memory running at 3600. Now that I have numbers for both of those with that Arc card, when I get the B580, we'll see how quickly I can lay my hands on it because nobody's stocking it yet. Then we'll be able to test the A750 against the B580 and see if there's a significant jump. There should be. So we'll see what that is. That card I might go ahead and compare to the 3060 Ti because, after all, it's supposed to be comparable to the 4060 Ti. So we'll see. Once I get my hands on it, we'll go ahead and do some tests. We'll see if it really does compare and what those numbers are. So but for the time being, I just wanted to retest this. Somebody had asked me quite a while back, hey, look, test it against the AMD and see what your numbers are there. So now we've done that. We've done that with, I believe it was a 36 or a 3700X, and we've done it now with a 5800X, and we've got basically comparable numbers there, but we were able to test it against some of the mid-range type RTX cards, and we got our answer. Good, but still not better. So we'll see if the next generation is better, or if it's good, but still not better. Who knows? But anyway, I just wanted to test this out, wanted to see, kind of get the numbers, getting ready for that new Battlemage card that's coming out. So I've got some numbers that I can test against. And yeah, I figured I would go ahead and share. The reason why this video is out a little bit late is because I did have some serious troubleshooting problems, both with trying to go back and test Borderlands 3, like in my last video, and this time around when I was trying to use the Vulkan API with No Man's Sky, testing the Arc A750. So you just never know. Sometimes you think it's going to be relatively easy and you try to leave yourself enough time. It doesn't seem like it works out that way. So anyway, I hope you got something out of the video. If you did, go ahead and throw a like on it for me, please. If you don't mind, if you're not already subscribed, please do. I would love to hit 1,500 subscribers by the end of the year. I'd love to do it by Christmas, but I can't do that without your help. So if you're watching this and you got this far, please, if you don't mind, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that button. Help me get to 1,500. It would sure warm my heart. And, you know, maybe it'll make you feel a little bit better. I don't know, you know. But anyway, if you don't do any of that and you don't visit any of my socials or anything like that, please just do me one favor, especially this time of year. Just be kind to each other. Wave, smile, hold the door open, say hi, say good morning, something. Just treat each other a little bit more, or a little bit of kindness. And, yeah. Maybe it'll make your day a little bit better and their day a little bit better also. You never know. Anyway, that is all I have for this time around. The Arc B580 will be coming up as soon as I can lay my hands on that. I have a toolkit coming that I've been asked to do a video on that's being sent to me. That has a tracking number, but it has not left the station yet. The workstation backup, speaking of stations, the workstation, that Z440, is getting an RTX 2070 that was testing over here to see how it compares over there. And yeah, a couple other good things, and still got some of those yard sale computers I'm working on. So yeah, so until I get myself into something I got no business getting into, I'll see you later.